help us as young leaders know how can we better minister to those that share any type of language around, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. I just wish I could wake up sometimes, or I just don't know if I can keep going. I want to get into that. Before we get into it, is there like a misconception around suicide in the conversation, or just even those that struggle with it?
Yeah, huge misconception. I had like dreams about someone that I know who is not here anymore. He died by suicide. And I really feel like those dreams were from God. But, at that time, I didn't know better. And these dreams were that this guy was drowning in water. And the weird thing about it was he was like a mentor to me. And he was drowning in water while we were walking on a beach. Like he wasn't in the ocean. He was on sand, but he's drowning. Like there's this bubble of water around his face. And he's like, Jacob, I'm here for you. How can I pray for you? Do you need any advice, buddy? And I'm like, dude, you're drowning. You're drowning. I had that dream multiple times.
Wow.
And I had phone calls with this man. And he, on these phone calls in real life, he's like, yeah, I just preached on Friday night at young adults and I'm going straight to the ER. Like he's going to the ER because he's having panic attacks. He's totally burning out and he's struggling with schizophrenia. He's not okay, obviously. So with these dreams that I was having, I thought if I bring these dreams to him, who's a mentor to me, I might make things worse. What if he is suicidal? What if I don't know what was wrong with him. What if he had a drug problem, an alcohol problem? Would I make it worse if I brought it up? And I never did. And he ended his life on World Suicide Prevention Day on September 10th.
Yeah.
And man, that just broke my heart. So what I've learned since, that was the case that propelled me to start Stay Here and research suicide. And what I learned was there's that myth behind suicide or depression or anything that's hiding in the dark.
Yeah.
People think if you bring those topics up, it's just going to trigger people. They're going to run and they're not going to confess, or you're just going to make it worse. You might even push someone over the edge and they're going to end up dying by suicide because of you, because you brought it up. No, the facts, the stats show that if you bring it up, if you talk about suicide in the right way, it's going to create safe spaces for people to confess that they're struggling with those thoughts.
Yeah.
And, I think so many more people struggle with suicidal thoughts than we think. And, even just for someone listening to this right now or watching this, just because you've had suicidal thoughts come to your mind, it doesn't mean like you're going to end it tonight, tomorrow, next week. Tell someone about those thoughts.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that want to hear you out. And, looking back, if I would have known better, I would have talked to this guy about the dreams I was having, because now I know that the stats are true. If you bring it up, lives can be saved. So that's kind of been my mission, is to not see that happen again. So we've created trainings with Stay Here to teach people how to actually talk about suicide and bring this thing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, yeah, I mean, I know who you're talking about. It's definitely a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And I think I keep saying one more thing before we go into it, but I just think it's super important for us to like know what we're talking about and have good layers of what it is. Is there, can you help us even maybe before we're talking about how to respond to it? What are signs that someone may like, whether it's language, maybe new practices or habits, are there things you've started to see that help us notice, hey, this person might be starting to think suicidally, think about ending it, or things they do, things they say, anything that we can kind of pick up on?
Yeah. The first thing I just want to say this, because this is more for like a leadership Christian podcast here. If you have friends that are always talking about heaven, like, I just can't wait to go to heaven. Like, I hope Jesus just returns any day now. Like, there might be something going on internally. I can't wait to go to heaven. But I also want to live an amazing, abundant life here on earth. So if you hear people, like, constantly just complaining about the world, wishing Jesus came back, like, that's great. We want Jesus to return. But if it's just a constant thing, I would ask them a question. Like, are you doing okay? Like, you sound really sad about living. I know you want to go to heaven. We all do. But like, are you sad? Are you depressed? Are you sad enough where you're thinking about harming yourself? So, I mean, that's one. But it's just sudden changes in people's lives. They're not showing up they're not performing the way they used to at work or at school. I had a friend on the night he was going to end his life. I got to intervene and help save his life, and he's still here today. But I noticed those issues. My wife and I were pastors, worship pastors at a church in Vancouver, Washington, and I can't sing a lick, but I was in charge of pastoring the men.
Okay.
And there was one who just texted my wife and I and said, "This is my last Sunday drumming." And I'm like, there's no way. Like, this guy is so talented. He's so passionate whenever he's drumming. Why would he just quit like that? And why did he just do it after a Sunday? Like, on Sunday, it was a Sunday where he was drumming. He texted me and my wife and said, "I'm done." So immediately I texted him back and I said, "I want to meet with you tomorrow for coffee. Let's talk about this. Why are you done? Like, I will bless your decision. If you want to be done, that's fine. I just need to know why. What's really going on with you?" And he didn't show up for coffee. He said, "Yes, I'll be there at 3 o'clock or whatever." Didn't show up. And he said, sorry, I couldn't make it. I'm tied up with stuff. I said, "Great, let's meet tomorrow." He didn't show up that next day. And that was the day where he'd planned on killing himself. So I'm at the coffee shop. My wife's texting me while I'm there. And she's like, "Are you with Robert? Are you with Robert?" "I'm not with Robert. I'm looking for him. He's not here." He didn't show up again. And she said, Robert's wife is texting me saying Robert didn't come home from work. We don't know where he is. She doesn't know where he is. So I just start texting Robert so many things. Like, "Robert, if you're thinking about hurting yourself or doing something harmful to your wife or anybody, please call me. Just call me. Show me your location. I just want to know where you are. I want to help you. I'm here for you. If you're thinking about dying today, please just talk to me. I will meet you wherever you are." So we go to dinner that night with friends, and I get a pin location. And he texts me. He said, "I'm so scared. Come and help me." And we were living in Vancouver, Washington, which is like the last city in Washington State before Portland, Oregon. So there's like the Columbia River Bridge. He's right there at the Columbia River, ready to end his life. And when I got there, he's standing by his car. He'd already self-harmed. And he's like shaking. I take the blade out of his hand, and we get in the car and we drive to church. We just get out of that situation. And for the next 2 hours, I just asked him, "Why do you want to kill yourself? Have you ever told anyone, a single soul, why you want to do this?" And he told me all the reasons why. And the craziest thing was, like, there were really hard things that he had gone through.
Yeah.
But just him confessing it to another person for the first time was healing in itself. And at the end of it, he's like laughing because he's like, that wasn't even that hard. Like, those were all the reasons why I wanted to die. It was all these old things, traumas and things from my life. I've never told anybody. It's all just been locked up, and now it's out. And you still love me, and God still loves me. My wife is probably still going to love me. I said, she is totally still going to love you. So, I give him some action steps after that. They go to therapy. He goes to personal therapy. They go to marriage therapy. And he's still here. He's still here. So, I think what I saw in him was obviously that quick quit. He quit drumming right away. So it's stuff like that, man. When people have a passion for something and they just kind of bounce.
Yeah.
Or even like if people seem abnormally happy all the time.
All right, explain that one.
Like, that's weird too. But that's the thing. I mean, think about Robin Williams. Like,
oh man, that's a good point.
Like there's and so many celebrities, so many actors, actresses. Their whole job is to act and to make you happy. Their whole job is
a lot
to make
of
you smile
comedians
and
talk
laugh.
about how much they
So
struggle
many.
with those kind of thoughts, and
Yes.
just they're actually not at all as happy as they thought,
Right.
or they come off as.
Yes. I mean, I actually had that problem. I was trying to overcompensate and be like the most joyful person in the room all the time. And it was a time when my parents were getting a divorce. I'm in ministry school. I'm just depressed because of this whole thing. I'm sad, and I'm worried about my brother back home. But I was just like always trying to be the guy that has a testimony to share. I led another person to Jesus. I prayed for this person, and God healed them. And I always wanted to be like the biggest, loudest worshiper during the chapel days. And I wanted to have the most joy, because I didn't want people to really see what was going on. But then I broke whenever people started to ask me about like, how's family back home, I couldn't fake it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gets to a point like you can try to build these dams, but it gets to a point where the water just gets so thick, it gets so heavy, it starts to crack.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's when a lot of people decide, like, I'm just going to end it because I don't think anyone can handle these rushing waters.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, so many people can.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that, you know, we, in Western culture at least, we have a huge confession problem. It's really scary for people to confess, but it's so biblical. Like, that's the Bible says in James, that's how you get healed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like what I've noticed is for young people, we confess to God all the time.
For sure.
We just never confess horizontally to others. And
Right.
so we're still always stuck in the same thing and almost feeling frustrated or sad that we always have to go to God with the same stuff. But it's like, but we have never confessed to others so that they are faithful to pray and heal. And man, I just recapping a couple things I heard you said was one, this like almost absurd happiness that could be a sign, not 100%, but it's but especially if it's like their ability to just have fun all the time, but inability to talk about the deeper and more emotional and difficult things.
Right.
When someone has a passion and just like abruptly just leaves, that's might be a sign of, no matter what, check in on that person because that's something is going on there. Something happened. And then the third one was, what do you say? Oh, the heaven, just kind of constantly talking about getting past
just talking
this.
about death. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
like
just over it. I want the
ready to be with God.
The
Ready.
rapture. I want the rapture to happen, or I want the second coming of Christ.
And then there's of course just language. There's of course, hey, I've had suicidal thoughts all the way to like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yep.
Man, it just seems like hopeless. Or I feel, the language. I mean, I've heard or seen maybe the softest language is like I just wish I could just go to sleep and not wake up anymore. Because then you're not saying I want to kill myself. I just don't want to live anymore. And so can you help us? I kind of asked whether there's some meaningful ways we can respond to people that are feeling that way. We care for them. We don't want that for them. I love the name of the ministry being Stay Here. Like what is a meaningful way for us to respond when we see that?
Yeah, all the times what we teach and what I do with people is just like, hey, I know what you're going through is really hard. You want to tell me more about that? You just give the person a safe place to actually just talk for a bit. You listen. You listen with compassion. But, then you ask the question straight up. Like, we don't beat around the bush. Are you sad enough where you're thinking about ending your life? Have you had thoughts like that? Have you made plans? Have you journaled it? Have you made notes on your iPhone, on your notes app that you want to make that decision? Are those thoughts that are plaguing you? And, you just wait for that person to respond. And when you ask such a pointed question like that, it's hard to lie. And the stats even say from the CDC, like 90%, 4 out of 5 of the people that you ask that question to, they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to be honest with you. So you just ask it with grace. What you don't say is, you're not thinking about killing yourself, are you? With that kind of condescending tone. Or you wouldn't do anything stupid, right? Like, come on, you're a man of God. Like, you're a woman of God. You wouldn't kill yourself, right? Like, that's when you communicate like that, you're kind of saying like, I don't want to handle this, so don't give me the truth. So you just ask them straight up, are you thinking about ending your life? And if you say yes, if you are, on the other side of this confession, I'm going to help you choose life. I don't want to let you do this. I want to help you find counseling. I want to help you meet with the right people that you need to meet with. I'm going to do whatever I can to help you get through this because I know you can. I know you can. And, so many that, I keep going back to stats, but they're just so hopeful. I think that we need to, we see the bad stats that over 800,000 people a year or so die by suicide. That's so hard to hear that. But, on the other side of that, there's great stats that say when people confess, they are more likely than not to continue living. They're going to live. They're not going to end up trying to end their life. So yeah, that's what's worked for us. It's been so helpful.
Is there any other things that you would share? Like, just be careful of this, be careful, because it's such a nuance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what you just said was, hey, you're not thinking about doing this, which is a common. I've definitely seen that, and that it
Yeah.
helps us understand when you say, because you're almost making them feel like a burden
Totally.
or shame or guilt, even in the question.
Mm-hmm.
But the other question you asked, pretty direct. It wasn't even like softly, kind of like, hey, it was kind of like, hey, are you thinking about ending your life?
Mm-hmm.
It is directly to the point. What you said works.
Yeah.
Any other things, you're like, these are things we can do even with good intentions, but they're not helpful. And just explaining that and unpacking that for us.
Oh, I mean, especially in church, I'm just like charismatic to the core.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of that. And I think one of the worst things you could do is just think it's all just wrapped up with a bow with one prayer. Like that's a terrible thing to do.
Mhm.
Altar calls can be dangerous with this subject as well. If you're not going to disciple people, like if we're just professional preachers and we don't actually disciple people, we're going to have so many hurting people in our congregations or organizations that we're leading. Like, you've got to be willing to ask that question and then disciple the person.
Mhm.
Because that's what you're saying. If you're going to ask a deep question like that, are you thinking about ending your life? Because I'm here for you. You better back that up with your action of, I'm going to help you choose life now.
Yeah.
But if I said, like, are you thinking about ending your life? And the person said, yes, I am. Well, let me pray for you right now. And let's just break this off of you in Jesus' name. And of course, like, we should pray for that person because suicide is demonic.
Mhm.
It's not of God. It's an evil thing. I mean, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus came to give us life and life abundant. But Jesus doesn't want you to just like anoint someone with oil and then never talk to them.
Mhm.
He doesn't want you to preach and breach. He wants you to be with people. So I think that's a red flag right there. You know, just doing one sermon. We're going to do the suicide prevention sermon one time a year. We're going to call it out. People are going to raise their hands. We're going to do a prayer. Now everyone's suicide free.
Mhm.
That's not good. You've got to disciple people through their mess.
Mhm.
Because, yes, God, all throughout the Gospels, there are times where Jesus does the instant miracle. And there are so many altar calls where people come to the altar with suicidal thoughts or depression or self-harm, and they do get set free. But there's also a few, here you see it in the 4 Gospels, where they followed Jesus along the way.
Mhm.
And they got healing. Or even the lepers, like they walked and then they got healing.
Mhm.
So it's a process. And, you know, that's one of the points that we're going to talk about today is you've got to make sure people are connected in community.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure people are plugged in with some sort of community because that's a really big thing to battle alone.
Mhm.
So,
Then we can go into that one. So you would say
Yeah.
the first one is, like, if you put it into a sentence, a meaningful way to respond, if you think it's there, if they've even shared it, it's kind of like being direct. Like, let's
Mhm.
just be direct and ask the question: Are you struggling with suicidal thoughts? Or are you thinking about ending it?
yes.
And
Like, can I break this down in scripture?
yeah, go ahead.
Like, this is I feel like this story right here in John 5 is just like perfect for suicide prevention or just how to respond to anyone who's got pain in their life. So here in John 5, it's the story of the man at the pool of Bethesda. And here's what it says. It says, afterward, Jesus returned to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish holy days. Inside the city near the sheep gate was the pool of Bethesda with 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, or paralyzed, lay on the porches. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him this question: would you like to get well? I just love slowing down and reading that right there. Jesus saw him. He knew he had been ill for a long time. And then he asked him this direct question: would you like to get well? Like, Jesus didn't like sit down next to the man and say, like, let's just wallow in this. Like, he said, do you want to get well?
Mhm.
I think that people need to just be more direct sometimes.
Mhm.
Because when we're indirect about issues like pain, depression, anxiety, people just stay stuck in
Mhm.
their pain. But Jesus says, I see you're sick. I know it's been hard. It's been 38 years.
Yeah.
You've been stuck here. I can heal you, though. I can heal you. And the man says, I can't get well. He's like, what are you talking about? I have no one to put me into the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me. So Jesus hears him out, but he doesn't say like if the guy was like, yeah, I'm suicidal because I have no point of living anymore. Like, I don't know what life has for me. Jesus doesn't say like, oh, I get it. Like, that's fine. There's grace for that.
Mm-hmm.
No, he says, stand up, pick up your mat and walk. I can heal you. I can get you out of this mess. I can get you off of your mat. You can walk.
Mm-hmm.
So it says the next verse that he instantly got up and walked. And then he testifies about what Jesus did. I just love how direct Jesus is all throughout the Gospels.
Yeah, he is.
He's direct with issues. He's direct with sin. He's direct with people's pain. And I want to follow in those footsteps with the way I minister to people, because it worked for Jesus, and we have his name. We have power and authority in his name, and we have him with us when we ask hard questions like that. And it is awkward. It is really hard. But like, when you really think about asking a question to someone, like, are you thinking about ending your life? First of all, you're not going to plant the idea in their head.
That is the fear for sure. Yeah.
But you're just not. Like, that's a huge myth. And it shows that person that you care about them. It shows them that you love them. And it shows them, like in this story with Jesus, that you see them. Like, if you're going to ask a question like that, it means you've been noticing. You've been noticing the changes in their life. And it shows, like, you really care. You really care. So
give us just in a minute, and I want to go to the second one in community that you said. You point out that verse where it's like he saw him and like he sees him, and then he even knows his pain. You kind of emphasize that before he asked the question. What are some prayers that go through your head before you go into that conversation to ask someone about like their pain?
Yeah,
because you got to slow down like to see someone, and we're in a fast-paced world. Like, you have these stories of gosh, I wish I shared that kind of. Almost anyone who has someone in their life that's passed. My sister-in-law took her life, and then my brother and 2 kids moved in with us, and I definitely think all the time now of like, oh, I wish I could have done this. I don't let it crush me, but I do let it motivate me to be different with my family, and anyone that kind of shows those yellow flags, I guess, if you will. But we are fast paced, like we were sharing earlier, how quick our life can go, that it's like the enemy's perfectly planned for us to be too fast to slow down and actually see someone. So in your mind, you're like, all right, let me pause, let me talk to God before I talk to this person.
Yeah. Sometimes I pray like that the person would have the courage that blind Bartimaeus had in Mark 10. Jesus is walking out of Jericho, and there's this blind man who no one likes. Like, no one wants to help this man. He's wearing a cloak. And at the time it says, like, history says blind beggars had to wear a special cloak that just signified they're a blind beggar. Like, that was his identity. And he's just sitting in this darkness, can't see, has nobody with him, no one to take care of him. And he hears, though, that Jesus is walking by, and he shouts out, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And some Pharisees say, "Shut up. He doesn't want to have anything to do with you." Like, it literally says that. Shut up. Shut up, Bartimaeus. But he shouts even louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me. I can't see." Like, how many people do we know that are in darkness like Bartimaeus? They're just sitting in the dark. And what I pray is that when I'm with someone, they see Jesus in me, and it's just irresistible. They see the love of Jesus in me. They hear his grace and mercy in my voice, and they feel like they can shout out, they can cry out for help. And I will stop for them. I love in that story with Bartimaeus in Mark 10, it says Jesus stopped. He stopped and turned around. Like, I want people to know when I'm talking with them about these issues that they may be dealing with, that Jesus is loving enough to stop for you. And I am too. Like, we've got to stop for the one. We've got to stop for the hurting people. That's why we're here. That's why we're Christians. It's not just to go to heaven. It's to bring the good news of Jesus
Yeah.
to hurting souls. So, yeah, I just pray that they have the courage to actually confess
Yeah.
such a heavy weight.
Yeah. It's a helpful prayer. And bro, you're like bringing out the stories that you kind of know. They don't get all the press, but those are like perfect examples of how Jesus did respond to these moments. Tell us you kind of already mentioned how the second meaningful way to respond to anyone with like maybe some suicidal language, or you might be a little concerned for them, is to encourage them towards community. Or how would you encourage us to help them towards community?
Yeah, I would say like community for me has saved my life. When my wife and I moved to Vancouver, Washington, we moved out of a mega church we were on staff at, and we moved with no one, just no friends, starting over, new community. What the heck? And we had so much pain, miscarriage, lost a stepbrother to a drug overdose. We left our church because the church was just blowing up with moral failures. We were whistleblowers. It was just a mess. So we're looking for community. And then 2020 happens, and stuff just undealt with stuff came up in me. And man, I remember just some people from the church coming alongside me and sitting down with me and saying like, dude, I love like the ministry and stuff you're doing. You're online preaching the gospel and stuff, but in person, you're not the same as what I see online. You look like happy and but like, come on, what's going on with you? Are you okay, Jacob? And there was one guy, he's one of my best friends, Gabriel, and I just confessed stuff to him. Like, I just had so much undealt with trauma stuff from leading this organization that I don't like to talk about suicide. So it wasn't even like my own issues. It wasn't secret sin. It was just like, can anyone handle all the stories that I hear? Can anyone handle the things I've seen? The seeing dead people, like dead bodies and stuff. Like that's what caused me to start this organization. I've been around suicide, drug overdoses, and family members, and like that's traumatic stuff to see.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anybody about that, so I'm just confessing that stuff to him. And man, as the tears went out, I'm like, this is what everybody needs. Like, this is what the church is for. We need places like this where we can just confess, receive prayer, move on in community. Like, if you're in a space where you're fully seen, fully known, and then fully loved, that's you. Everyone needs that.
Yeah.
But that's where healing happens, and that's what the church is here for. And this is crazy, man. I mean, Harvard University did a study on the church a couple of years ago, and they proved that people who attend church in the United States are proven to live longer lives. They're proven to live with less drug abuse, less domestic violence, less alcohol abuse, and less depression. Like,
that study should be famous.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I've not seen it
like
yet.
No one ever talks about that study. That was just a couple years ago. Harvard comes out with that. And I'm like, man, why people should be running to the church after something like that's out, or every pastor should be saying like, Harvard's proven that this works. Like, the church really works. So, but there's a lot of churches that, and that's one of the things that we're doing with Stay Here, is we're trying to equip churches to speak on this issue, because there are still, many churches in the United States that don't like to talk about mental health. They might think mental health it's non-existent, or mental illness is non-existent. Or if you're suicidal, it's, like I said earlier, it's just a demon to cast out, or depression's just a demon to cast out, or, you just got to believe better, brother, believe the word better. I don't know. So you've got to find a church that will take you in and counsel you through what you're going through.
Only one question for this one, and we'll go to the next. But I wanted to say, I'm trying to give you the hard questions, but the real questions kind of is, what do you say to the person when you're talking to them? They have the courage to share, yes, I have been thinking that way. And you're then like, hey, I'm here for you. All the language you use. And then you're like, but tomorrow and next week and the week after that, I want you also to like join community. What is the language you give to the guy who's like, I don't have friends, like I don't have people to do that with, or the people that say, I do have friends, but I haven't shared this with them too. Can you give us like, okay, how do we help them? We can't control what people do, but we can try to give the best guidance we can offer. What do we share with those different scenarios?
Yeah, and even for like the pastor or leader that's listening to this, maybe you're thinking like, this is too much to deal with. Like, what if I just ask like my whole congregation to confess, and there's like 80 people that are dealing with this? Am I now responsible for all that? So I'll just give you like practically what I've done with one person that comes to mind. So just that same guy, Robert, who was going to end his life. I said, after he confessed everything, I said, Robert, all the staff needs to know about this. Your wife needs to know everything. And I'm going to stick around and make sure you see this through. And even like, when's the last time you've gone to the doctor? Like, just gotten a checkup. So I just said, like, you've got a couple weeks to schedule these things, and I'm going to be checking up on you every day this week. And then I'm going to start checking up on you once a week. And I just want to make sure you're following through with this. And if you can't do it, I'm willing to help you. I'll even go with you. Do you want me to go to your house with you tonight so you can come back to your wife and tell her what's going on? Because I'm willing to do that with you.
Yeah.
But, you know, after a while, it needs to get to a place where it's like, you're not the one doing everything for them. You know, people need to be responsible for their own lives as well, you know? So, but you've got to be there to see him through. Like, that's what friendship looks like. That's what accountability and discipleship looks like. And, you know, if we say we really love people and, you know, what do we say at church? Do life together. Like, that's what doing life together looks like sometimes. It's really messy and it's ugly, but
it's
like,
that's not usually what we're thinking when we say do life together. But
we're thinking a little, you know, 1 hour together on Sundays. But
I was thinking at least a meal for dinner. But it often doesn't go to the hard, difficult times of like, I'm here when you have nothing to offer. In fact, it's going to cost me a lot.
Yep, it does. But I mean, it's so worth it, you know, to lead someone to choose life. That's so worth it. And those experiences for me help me read people better. Like, after that first time where it's like, wow, if I didn't know better, like, he could be dead today. He really could be. What was crazy too was there were other people on staff where they just told me, I didn't know, like, I noticed something was wrong, but I didn't know it was that bad. Like, thank God you knew. And it was while we were developing the suicide prevention training first day here. That's when that all that took place. So I'm just grateful to God that, like, I was in the middle of research. I'm like, this is so in my head. Suicide prevention, how to actually do it, how to communicate to someone and actually practically use it to save a life, but then see them through it. Yeah. That's so key. So, yeah.
You know, before we go on the third one, what I'm kind of hearing, even what you said, is you start with being direct by asking direct questions, but that then opens the door to kind of encouraging them and guiding them towards them being direct. It's like, hey, you've shared it with me. Now I want you to be direct and share it with your spouse, people near you, the people who care for you, who are your family, coworkers, maybe even depending on situation. Like, people need to know. I want you to, and then you're direct, like, it's not just what to say, it's how are you gonna, it's when, it's giving like a plan, and then it's saying, hey, and I'll join you for parts of these. You're not in alone. I'm not your coach. I'm definitely not your judge or your parole officer on this. I'm in it. I want you to win, but your directness. I think of the verse like, the truth will set you free. Like, you had them share the truth. You were direct and went to where that hard conversation, but it opened the door. Now they can be true, and it could hopefully set them free in community. So what would you say is, the third meaningful way we can respond to suicidal language or thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the most impactful ways is to show people that, like, they are responsible over their own situations, and like they're responsible for their own emotions in the situation. I would say. Life comes at us, and life's not easy, and we're promised suffering, which is tough. Like it's inevitable for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus never said that he would deliver us from suffering. Jesus suffered himself, and we see that at the end of his suffering, there's resurrection and there's glory. And, for us, we wouldn't experience glory if there wasn't suffering. So, when someone is dealing with suicidal thoughts or depression, it's really hard, but there's also an opportunity in those suicidal thoughts and depression to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
There's an opportunity to choose life, and you are responsible for that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And, what a story that would be if you chose life in the midst of suicidal thoughts, in the midst of whatever's causing you to want to end your life, whatever's causing you that depression. What if instead of saying, I'm done, this thing has overtaken me, I'm under the water here, what if instead you reached out and you said, I'm going to keep swimming so I can get above the water, because maybe I'll have a story out of this. And maybe there's other people that are dealing with the same thing later on that I can help.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think in the mental health world, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest things I don't agree with is, like, I love the phrase, it's okay to not be okay. Totally. But, like, we just love to stay not okay. Mm-hmm. And that's the mental health world. And in a lot of spaces where it's like, let's just sit around our mess forever. And someone has suicidal thoughts. That's just going to be you your whole life, bro. You always got suicidal thoughts. Just keep holding on. No, like, you can overcome.
Mm-hmm.
You can overcome these things. I think about stories like, man, Viktor Frankl. He survived the Holocaust.
Yeah.
What a hero. And there's a story where he's looking in, he's in the camp, he's in this room, and he sees some of his friends, and they're lying. This is so sad and so just so devastating. There are Jews in this camp that are lying in their own urine, their own feces in their cots. They don't want to get up because they don't see tomorrow. They can't see past today. They don't want to live toward tomorrow. But he gets on this little box inside the room, and he starts preaching. And he says, I remember who we were. I remember who I was. I'm a neurologist. I am smart. I'm intelligent. I'm a husband. Mm-hmm. And maybe my wife's still alive, maybe not, but I want to live to find her. And when I get out of this camp, I have so much studying that I've done on people's brains here in this camp that can help people if there's another Holocaust, if there's another war, and there's something like this that happens again. I've got to get out so I can teach people how to overcome. And he's just preaching to people. He's like, you're not a number. You're not just this person with no hair and you're a number now. No, you used to have hair. You used to have a name. You have a family somewhere. Get up and keep living. I think that's so speaking like that today in our culture could be so offensive. Mm-hmm. But it's like Jesus here in John 5. He's like, yes, I know you've been sick for 38 years, man at the pool, but get up and walk because I can help you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's up to that person at the pool to get up and walk. Jesus said, I can do it for you, but you've got to get up. Mm-hmm. You have a part to play. And Viktor was saying in the Holocaust, in Auschwitz, it's up to the people to get up. And so many people did get up out of their beds and they worked another day. And there were so many people that did actually survive and run from the camp and live past World War II, which is so incredible. So I think that teaching, though, can be so countercultural today because we just want to keep people in this space where it's like, yes, it's okay to not be okay. But I preach like, yes, that's true. Jesus forgives you, but let's not stay that way. Mm-hmm. Telling people that it's okay to stay that way, that's not okay. Like, we can find healing. We can find freedom. I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with anxiety. I've had many losses in my life, but I don't want to stay in my mess. I don't want to stay sad all my life. If healing's possible, I want to find it. So again, just kind of on that tone of directness, we need to carry that with people and say, like, I know what your mom and dad did to you or what this person did to you is terrible. No denying that at all. If you've gone through trauma, that's real. It's your feelings behind the trauma are valid, but you are now responsible to find healing from this trauma. You're responsible now to do something with this, to find beauty within this somehow. And that's a tough teaching, but I think giving people purpose and something to live for, which is healing, that's what sets captives free.
Yeah, I was trying to find something real quick, but this generation is, ironically, I'm seeing a correlation potentially is considered one of the most like coddled generations in the last, let's say, 100 years. It also is a generation where we're seeing this massive uptick of depression and suicide. And is there a way that the teaching of this world, the teaching, just what has become normalized in our mindset, which is, because you're kind of talking about a victim mindset and an enabling, and then you're talking about like this is resilience, which is there like, basically teaching in our culture or lies we're accepting in our culture that are enabling us to stay depressed longer than we need to, or fall into suicidal thoughts instead of freedom that God wants us to have.
Yeah, I mean, there were multiple suicides. We're just recording this right after the presidential election. There were multiple suicides on November 6th, the day after, because people think, Trump is this Hitler who's going to kill all these transgender people and the LGBTQ community, and he's going to, capture all these women who want abortions. So there are a couple college campuses here in the U.S. where people are jumping off the buildings. There were suicides just a week ago because of the election, and I think, I don't know who's to blame for that. I have some ideas. I feel like one of the biggest things to blame is the fear-mongering we see on the news. It's the fear-mongering and this culture we see on social media where things are not as bad as they seem. They're just not. That's not reality. But people are now swept up into this culture of fear and rage, and they end up taking their lives and there's fathers that are, I saw one post where a father packed up his kids, and the night, like at 3:00 in the morning, woke his kids up and said, "We're going to die if we don't get out of here." And he took his daughters to Canada. No, you're not. You're not. That's not real. Yeah. But there's so many people here in this country that have bought into these lies from media, and especially, sadly, Gen Z, where we use these big words like trauma for the smallest things.
Yeah.
Like people say, I had trauma at school today. Why? Because my teacher told me to sit down. That's not trauma. Like, that's just discipline. You were standing up when you shouldn't have, or you had your phone out. Man, that I had so much trauma. My teacher's a narcissist. We use these big words.
Yeah.
And then, like, when there actually is a narcissist, when there actually is an unsafe workplace, when there actually is an unsafe teacher or, a pastor or a leader, it's hard to tell the difference between who's who, because we use these massive words like trauma. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing right now is people are quick to jump to these big buzzwords or even mental issues. Like, I don't know if you've seen this, but autism is on a rise because people are self-diagnosing themselves with autism. They're just like, I feel this way today. I must be autistic. And I'm like, no, I don't know about that. Like, have you seen a doctor? Have you gotten checked up on? But we love to use these big mental health words when the issue is nearly non-existent. Yeah. And I think that's very dangerous.
Yeah, we're talking like high overview stuff, but I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm kind of thinking about, I try to think of every generation of like, what's the lie of the age that the enemy, the world's kind of saying, and we're like we like it. We're taking it in. We're even maybe mixing it, some of that truth and some of, or that lie, I would actually say, and some of God's truth. And it really doesn't work well when you try to do like half and half either. But I think of like the sexual revolution, and then I think about the Jesus movement. It just seemed like that revolution was like expression, experience, drugs, hippies. It was like this new high, if you will. And then God and God's people were able to meet that desire, which isn't wholly bad. G.K. Chesterton says like every vice is often a virtue gone wrong. And so like there's a virtue in like this contentment, or ironically peace, that surpasses understanding. That's a better high. Like you want this that actually crashes and is gone the next day. Let me tell you about the piece. It doesn't even make sense to have because of what's going on in life. And so like the God encountered, like there was the encounter with God, and that generation really resonated with that because they were looking for that experience. When I look at our generation today, it's more like identity stuff more than I think experience. I'm not to say we don't want experience, but it's a generation that so badly wants like to know who they are and then what they're going to do that makes a difference in the world. But we don't even get past the first part because there's so little discipleship, there's so little intentionality, there's so little blessing or parenting. We've offloaded so much of that to the church. And the pastors can't do that for every kid. And so you got kids that don't know who they are. And so when they could say, well, oh, my race, now that's going to be the big part of my identity, or my sexuality, or my gifting, which has always historically been a big one, but there's even now more categories.
So many more.
To kind of fall into politically now. This is where I land. Or, we've got to get back to that discipleship word used of like identity and how important it is in the young and teenage years. So they're not like tossed to and fro by the identity that the culture in the world is going to speak over them. Because right now it's kind of cool to be a victim, and it's kind of cool to be, I got this thing that's hard too. And to have privileges, that's bad now. Like, it's like, I got to talk about how I struggle too, or I got some mental thing that, it's such a twisted situation. And again, you're saying like the boy that cried wolf. That's not devaluing those elements do happen. And race, I think I'm Mexican, South African. I care, but that won't transcend the Christ in me. And there are then when the people that do have trauma share that, they're in a midst of all these people. That
it's not fair for the people that are really going through something, that really have issues, that really need help, because it's hard to tell who's who. And I think too, for this generation, like, this is such a generation that wants to feel. We want to feel an emotional high as well. And I think that's not necessarily the best way to combat it with the church, because if you can just give someone a good feeling, like they get Holy Spirit goosebumps at worship, like they're gonna go through their week after that, and they're gonna have some bad days. So if we just teach people that Christianity is like, you'll feel better. There's days where you don't feel good. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's days where I wake up and I don't feel good. I don't feel born again every day. I don't feel, blood baptized in the Spirit every day, but I know I am. I know that's who I am. So I know that my feelings will catch up to the truth, my identity in Christ. And I just think that, as a leader, pastor, whoever you are listening to this, that's something that you need to be touching on. Like even in that story I was talking about earlier in Mark 10, in the story of blind Bartimaeus, he wasn't a blind man anymore, and he knew that his identity was about to change, because on his way to Jesus, while he was still blind, the people in the crowd are saying, like, come on, be of good cheer, blind Bartimaeus. He's calling you. Jesus is calling you. Bartimaeus takes his coat off on the way to Jesus. He knows, like, my days as a beggar are over. I'm a disciple of Jesus now. And I think that that's the type of teaching we need to be giving to this generation. Like, you don't have to carry your mat. You don't have to carry your coat anymore. You can just leave it on the side of the road. Like that old you is gone with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to Christ, you're a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. You can live a new life.
Yeah.
Not just a better life, not
Yeah.
just a life of touchy-feely, you feel better. No, you're new
Yeah.
in Christ. This generation needs that teaching.
Yeah, I think you're right on the feelings thing too. That is a word that's, I mean, if you talk about like our grandparents' generation to the youngest generation right now,
Mm-hmm.
their assigning of value to feelings is disproportionately different.
Totally.
I'm thinking there's a quote, the quote by R.C. Sproul. He says, "I don't always feel God's presence, but God's promises do not depend upon my feelings. They rest upon his integrity."
That's so good.
And so like that desire for the Holy Ghost goosebumps you're talking about, or
Yeah.
like, I don't feel his presence today, though I did 3 days ago, but maybe that's changed,
Mm-hmm.
is like, it's not on us to feel it. It's on God's integrity. And he's come through over and over and over
Yes.
and over again.
Yeah, he's Emmanuel. Like he's here in this podcast right now. We're not on our faces crying, shaking under the power of God, but he's 100% here in this room,
Mm-hmm.
just as he would be at the, a revival service. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's here in the room, very
Mhm.
much here. And I don't feel him like I would feel at a revival service, but I know he's here because he
Mhm.
said he's here.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to take him at his word.
Yeah.
And not live by circumstances. If you live by your circumstances, you're just a reed in the wind.
Yeah.
You're going to get tossed to and fro, and you're never going to be grounded. But if you live by truth, especially this word, you're going to stand through trials.
Mm-hmm.
And even if suicidal thoughts come, these temptations to end it, or old thoughts of depression come, you can still stand.
Yeah.
You know who you are in Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close us out with the last one. What would be the fourth and last meaningful way to kind of respond?
Yeah, we kind of jumped around, I feel like. So let me read one
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
didn't really touch on. We touched on exercise the freedom to choose your response, community. We touched on suffering a little bit. Pursue a cause greater than yourself. We didn't really touch on that. I just want to end with a story, actually. This was so crazy. I met a homeless guy named Leif a month ago. Yeah, it was in September, so about a month and a half ago. We were doing an event at a barber shop for Stay Here, and this barber shop in Johnson City and a tattoo shop came to me and said, "We want to do a fundraising event for Stay Here. We want to provide for haircuts and tattoos. People can pay whatever they want for haircuts, and they could pay $100 for any tattoo. And all the 100% of the money is going to Stay Here,
Mm-hmm.
to this organization." So I was there all day. I'm just like meeting and greeting. We have a Stay Here booth there, and it's just an incredible day. And I walk outside to go talk to some people. And as I go around the corner, there's this owner of the coffee shop next door, and he's like, "Jacob, I've been looking for you. Where were you, bro?" And I'm like, "I'm just talking with people. What's wrong?" He's like, "You got to talk to this guy over there named Leif. He's freaking out about this event." So I go up to him, and he's talking with one of the barbers.
Mm-hmm.
So Leif had like this long hair before he walked in. Now he's got this clean cut, like your haircut. And he's crying as I walk up to him. And he's like, "I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this is a suicide prevention event." Like he didn't know what it was. There was the barber there. He's wearing a Tennessee Volunteers hat, and Leif's making fun of him for it. He's like cussing at him.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, "Hey, come get a haircut, bro. Your hair looks messy." Like he's kind of giving some jabs back at him. So they sit down. They don't really talk much, but when Leif's done with the haircut, he turns around to walk out, and he sees this Stay Here flag that says Gen Z will be suicide free on the wall. So he asked the barber, "What is this event? What is going on? Why was this even a free haircut?" He explains it, and then that's when I get to talk to Leif. So Leif told me this. He said that he just got out of jail. He tried to kill himself in jail. He tried to hang himself, and he feels like suicide is a part of him. It's in his DNA. His father committed suicide. His grandfather committed suicide. His best friend, who was a veteran, committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got one son. And he's like, "I'm destined to die. I'm destined to kill myself. And my son's going to do it as well." but I don't want it to happen. Like, how do I get this out of my bones? It feels like it's just me. It's who I am. And I'm like, Leif, it's no mistake that you're here right now. Like, this whole event is for you. But you've got to choose life right now. You've got to choose to live for something greater than yourself. Because right now, I'm just hearing a lot of things about you. I know your life's been hard. You're homeless. That sucks. That's so sad. That's so hard. But if you live to see your son choose life, it's got to start with you. Because if you do it, you're going to follow in the footsteps of your dad, who followed in the footsteps of your grandfather. You're going to be like your best friend who died by suicide. And do you think that your son might make the same decision if he finds out that his homeless dad did that? I think it's possible. So I need you to get some strength right now. I need you to choose life. And he's like, I don't know how. I got to lead him to Jesus right there. Give him the gospel, lead him to Jesus. And then he's just crying. He's saying, you're right. Like, I have to stay. I have to stay for my son. I have to get a job. I have to get my life back together. Like, look at me. My hair looks good. I look good. I feel good. This has to be God. This has to be real. So I give him a hoodie. I give him my book. And he walks away and he says, I'm going to live for something greater than myself. I'm going to live to see my son live. And that means I have to live. I can't try to hang myself. I can't, look at another gun right now and think I'm going to shoot myself. I have to keep going. So this is so crazy, Grant. Like, the event goes on, an hour and a half goes by, and he comes back again. He comes back with like his grocery cart full of his belongings, and he's like shouting outside. And I'm like, oh man, he's making a scene. What's going on with this guy, Leif? And people are crying. And I'm like, what is going on?
It's like a woman at the well situation.
Like, what is this? And so he says, guys, you would never believe it. My life has changed ever since I went into this barber shop. First, I got a haircut. Then this guy leads me to Jesus. Now I'm not going to kill myself. And I got a job. And I have a place to stay tonight. And he's just crying, freaking out. And I'm like, what happened to you? What happened, Leif? So he was hiding his belongings outside of this tire shop. As he goes back after I talked with him and prayed with him to get his belongings, he hides them behind all these tires. He's digging through them, gets his cart. The owner of the tire shop opens the door, and he's like locking up for the night. And he's like, what are you doing? And Leif turns around. He's like, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm not trying to steal anything from you. This is just my stuff. I needed to hide it here because I've had so many people steal my stuff before. Please, I'll get out of your face. And the guy says, Leif? Leif? These guys went to high school together.
Oh.
So the owner of the shop says, Leif, you're obviously homeless. Do you need a job? And he's like, I need a job. He said, I can give you a job cutting tires for me. Do you want a job here at my tire shop? You can start tomorrow. He's like, yes, I want a job. He said, great, I'll pay you. And then he says, where are you living? Where are you staying? He said, I don't have a place to stay. Like, I've got a yoga mat in my grocery cart here. And the owner of the shop says, I've got a place right behind Krispy Kreme. I can open it up and I'll close it up, so I'll have the keys. But if you show up for work, as long as you're showing up starting tomorrow, you can stay in that space.
That's cool, man.
Just meet me at Krispy Kreme when I'm locked up here. Like, that is such a crazy testimony. And that's just it just started with that act of kindness from the barber, wanting to cut this homeless guy's hair. And then just telling him, directly, like, you've got to live for something greater than you. Like, you have a bigger purpose than you. And, we started this podcast talking about a mutual friend of ours who died by suicide. Like, that choice to die by suicide, it didn't just affect him. So many people are affected. His wife that he left behind, his 2 children, they're affected. They now don't have a father. She doesn't have her husband. The church community was affected. People all across America were affected. Like that, a choice like that affects so many people. But a choice in the opposite spectrum affects thousands of people.
Yeah.
Choosing life changes lives.
Yeah.
Choosing to live for something greater than you, that changes lives. So
it's so crazy how there's also often, not always, because that story is awesome to see how quick things moved. And like you said, sometimes it's not going to happen
crazy,
overnight.
yeah.
But sometimes, yeah, one act of obedience domino affects another
Mm-hmm.
act of obedience, and then it's not even on you fully. Like sometimes
Right.
you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and actually God has other people who can
Yes.
come in and join the story and the journey as well.
Uh-huh.
Like I think about that story. I mean, really was a woman at the well thing. It's like
Totally.
right away she's going and he's
It was
converting others and
crazy.
telling his testimony, and people
Yes.
are like, "Aren't you the person?" And now you're this, and
Yeah.
but I think of the verse Apollos planted, I think Paul watered,
Yep.
and God gave the growth. Like
Yep.
it's not all on we do it all A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's we do what faithfulness looks like in that moment, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that means the next day and the next day and the next day and a couple months even. But
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd be surprised how many times others jump in because they see our act of obedience
Yeah.
and our response. Bro, I just want to thank you for
For
joining,
sure.
and I think it was super practical and helpful, and then just insightful. Of no one listening, I know, doesn't want to do this well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing I'm learning from this is uh, engage in the conversation quicker,
Yep.
more clearer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't lower the bar, and kind of hire it and say, "I'm gonna jump with you. We're gonna
Right.
get there."
Right.
And then keep showing up and letting them know they're not doing this alone. But can you close us out? Just I almost want you. What I try to do is have the guests kind of you could like look at this
Mm-hmm.
camera right here,
Yeah.
and just like for a minute, would you speak and encourage the person who is maybe feeling suicidal? But then also a minute after that, could you just give a minute to the person who is like, I'm listening to this episode the whole time. I'm thinking of my brother, my sister, my close friend. I want to be that for them. And just could you encourage both of them and just
Totally.
close
I was
us
going
out?
to ask you if I could do that. Yeah, there's one more thing I want to say, so I'll say that at the end. But yeah, to anyone listening to this and you're struggling with suicidal thoughts or depression or self-hatred or self-harm, I just first want to tell you, if you cry out to God, he is so faithful to come to you in your distress. The Bible says Jesus is a suffering servant. Like he knows your weakness. He knows your pain. He knows what you're going through, and it's never too much for him. It's never too much. You're not going to freak him out. And then on the other side of that, you're not going to freak the people that love you out with your story. So I want to encourage you right now, if that's you, you're struggling with any of those issues, suicide, depression, anxiety, self-hatred or self-harm, or any just secret things, let it out. Let it out. I know it's crushing you and it's so heavy, but if you share that with somebody right now, you call somebody up, text somebody, set up a meeting, and you tell them that you've been going through it, I know that God's going to meet you there in that moment, and that person is going to be kind and compassionate, and that weight is going to be lifted off of you. So please just choose to stay. Please choose to keep going. Your life is so precious. It's so valuable, and there's so much more meaning in your life. It's not over yet. So please keep going. And then for the person that is like, yeah, that could be my brother, it could be my sister, it could be that youth in the church, it could even be another staff member that I'm working with. You know who that person is. Please reach out. Like there's a real life moment that I just experienced with my wife that just really it really hurt me. Another reminder to just reach out. There was somebody that I came home from church one day a couple weeks ago, talked to my wife, and I said, hey, have you reached out to this person lately? Because they are on my heart. I saw them at church. They don't seem right. Something seems off. Their face was a little bit sunken. Have you reached out? And I prayed for that person, and my wife reached out. But there was more that I wanted to really ask, and there's more that my wife wanted to ask. But we didn't go after that pointed question like I was talking about in this podcast. And looking back now, I wish I did, because what we found out was exactly what we thought was going on. And we could have been more helpful in this painful situation for that person. So when you have those moments where you think of somebody, don't just pray for them. After you pray for them in secret, get on your phone and text them, reach out to them, call them, set up a meeting. And don't just hang out with them. Like, ask the hard question. It's okay to be embarrassed for a moment. Like, let's say you do ask the question, hey, are you depressed? Are you suicidal? And the person says, no, I'm not. I'm good. Great. At least you asked the question, and it was embarrassing for a moment. It was awkward for a moment. But what if you never asked the question and the person actually was suicidal? What if they were dealing with something? Wouldn't you rather ask the question? Wouldn't you rather have that moment of awkwardness? I certainly would. So this is just your challenge right now. Reach out to that person and be that safe place for them. Be the hands and feet of Jesus for that person and let Christ minister through you and with you, and you could potentially save a life. So go for it.
Thank you, bro, for just the encouragement, the direction, and just the ministry you're doing. I do want to say, just as a friend, man, for whatever reason, God put, for whatever reason in your story, it was like close people to you in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that verse about Joseph said of like what was meant for evil got turned to good is like it built such like a resilience in you to like an insatiable hunger of I want to like change this. And so it's just cool to see how much that your obedience, the doors God's opened, there's things you do because you're really sharp, and there's things where it's like you can't do in your own strength because God's like making it happen. But just proud of seeing you just in the couple years of what God's doing through you is amazing.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for encouraging me all these years.
Yeah.
You've been a huge part of it, honestly.
Thanks, man.